So my presentation tonight is called, I Did My Speech, Now What? And as I was saying, we're on the Zoom meetings now, so most of our speeches are done online like this. So I just wanted to review. We've done our speech, but how did we get to this point? So the first thing we did is we would have gone into our Pathways path, and we would have launched the project. And here I'm talking about launching the icebreaker speech. So I launched the icebreaker speech, and it opens up this window where I start to see the content. And then they tell us to use these chevrons. So using the chevrons, and that's those little arrows there, I use that chevron and I navigate through the content. And I just wanted to show that there's a lot of content to go through, and you can go left and you can go right through all these screens to see what's going on and what your content is. But eventually, if you go through it, on the fourth screen, you should see this assess your skills beforehand. So this one here, it asks you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions about your skills ahead of time. And you just keep chevroning to the right, and you'll eventually come to your evaluation. And this is a screen where you will find the evaluation resource that you have to give to your evaluator. And that would be the person that is going to evaluate your speech, who you give that to. Now these days, you have to download it, and I've shown an evaluation sheet downloaded here, and you've got some choice. You can either email it to them, which typically is what has to happen now. You can give it to them on paper, but that would have been if you're meeting in person, or they can download the evaluation form. So this would have been the icebreaker evaluation form. And you notice this one's actually fillable. It's got the blue boxes open here where you can actually fill in the content. Now, you can get that evaluation form from that link where I showed you where the evaluation was, or if you have a club website that uses free ToastHost, you'll notice here that I said I'm going to do this speech, the icebreaker speech. I went on to my club website and I volunteered for a role for the evening. I put down there, I'm going to do my icebreaker speech. And what happens is there's a little spot here where, because I put in icebreaker, it actually has the evaluation form right there. So if you or another member was to click that link, it's going to open up that same evaluation form. So that's so that they can evaluate your speech. So now let's say the evaluator has finished up the oral report at the meeting. What's next? So this is, we've given a speech, someone's evaluated, what's next after that? So we have 2 places we can go, and I showed it as a fork in the road, but it could be, on one hand, we have the evaluation form we have to worry about. On the other hand, I wanted to talk about our path. But first, I'm going to talk about the evaluation form itself. Now, your friend or your other club member there evaluated you, they've got that form. So now at a regular in-person meeting where you're meeting in person with everyone at the club, they can just hand you that sheet back after they've actually done all their writing on it. But these days, we have to do things online. So an online meeting, they have to email you that form later. So there's 3 ways they can do it. They can scan it on a scanner if they have a scanner on their printer. And I showed the lady scanning it here. They can take a photograph of it, and I've been doing that for probably 2 years. I just use my smartphone and I just take a picture of it and I email it. Or if it's that fillable form that I showed you, then this gentleman here, he's typing on the form and then he can email the form to you. What do you do with it when it comes to you in your email? Well, you print it up and you have a choice. And I've shown here, you can put it in a binder, and I actually have a binder that I keep mine in, or you can pile them in a cardboard box. And I've always been using this cardboard box analogy because some people thought you had to file it online to move on, and you don't. You can just put it wherever you want. If you're doing one path, you're going to end up with about 15 forms because there's 15 projects. So it's not an horrendous amount of paper for one path. It's just a little bit more than doing the Competent Communicator manual or some of the other speech manuals, but you'll end up with about 15 forms. That's it. Or I did want to mention you can file them on Basecamp. People have been asking, can I file it on Basecamp? It's not a necessity, it's not a requirement, but you can store them on Basecamp. It looks like this. I have 14 files in level 1, I have 9 in level 3, I have 3 in level 5, and I have 9 in level 2, and I have 5 in level 4. So I've been filing mine online faithfully, well, almost faithfully, and you end up with them online. The only downside about this is that they're only available to you as long as you're a Toastmaster. Once you don't pay your dues, you don't have access to Basecamp. But it is a place where you can put them, and if you need to search for them, you can find them later. Now, that was talking about the evaluation form. I wanted to go the other way and talk about now your path. You've done your first speech or your second speech. Where do you go in your path? So I wanted to mention that once you've done that speech, you have to come back to that same project, and I was using the icebreaker for the example, and you have to assess your skills after. So you've assessed your skills before, you've read the content, you printed up your evaluation sheet or emailed it to your evaluator, you did your speech, you got your evaluation back, you did something with that form. Now you have to go back into pathways, assess your skills after, and answer those same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. Once you've answered them, then it tells you how you did versus the first. So you notice here I said I was all 4s, and now I'm all 5s. So I thought I improved 1/5 or 1/4 from before. And once you click on that chevron next, it's going to say, congratulations, your project is complete. So that's just to finish off that project. The next step is I wanted to talk about what lays ahead. You know, what is out there in front of us? We've done a speech, we're planning out our path. Where do we head from here? So a path is a path is a path, and I just wanted to describe the paths a bit. Level 1 is exactly the same on all paths. You have 3 projects, but one of those projects has 3 tasks in it, and that's the second project, where you do a speech. You're tasked to improve on that speech, so you redo the speech, and then your third task is to do an evaluation of someone else. But level 1 is the same on all 11 paths. It's always the same. Level 2 has 3 projects in it. You don't make a choice of what you can do. It's just they set up 3 projects, and one of them is Introduction to Mentoring. So really you have 2 different projects throughout your paths that you can have. But you just have 3 projects. Level 3, they have 1 set project where they make you do that one. And then you have 2 electives. So this is where you start to get into varying your content for your path. And this is where it starts to be, if one person picks one elective, someone picks a different one, and someone picks a different one, we're all taking a little bit different path through these projects or these paths. Level 4, they have 1 set project that they assign you, and then you have 1 elective project where you get to choose. And then level 5, they have 1 set project and then 1 elective project where you get to choose. So in total, you have 9 set projects that you're assigned. You have no choice, you have to do those, but you have 4 elective projects. So altogether, that's 9 and 4 is 13 projects. And remember, this one had 3 tasks, so you end up with 15 forms approximately. So you can have 14 or 15. But every path follows this same flow. You have 9 set projects, you have 4 elective projects where you make a choice. So your need to understand what you have to choose is not huge because you're only choosing 4 different projects. Click. So I just wanted to go how you can explore those projects that you get to choose from, the electives. And I'm showing you presentation mastery here, and we'll go online after and look at it. So this is presentation mastery level 3, and level 3 is where you start to choose your electives. So it says here, as my compulsory content, I have to do persuasive speaking. And it says this project focuses on helping you to develop and support a viewpoint and identify the most appropriate type of persuasive speech for your topic. And then you get to choose 2 electives. Minimum is 2. They say there's 13 in total. And if you were to click View Details, I think that's where we're headed here. Click. If you were to click on View Details, then you will see a list of all the electives. Deliver social speeches, using presentation software, connecting with storytelling, creating effective visual aids, using descriptive language, and the list goes on. And what I wanted to do now at this point was let's go online to explore some of that. So I'm at toastmasters.org. I'll just sign in. I click on the Lloyd Welcome. And I always like to go back through how we get into these different places. So there's several ways I can go to Basecamp. I can go to Basecamp through here by clicking Go, or I can go straight to my transcript. So I like this. This is actually the handiest, to go to my transcript, because it'll take me right to my, I've got 3 paths, so to speak. I've got engaging humor I'm working on right now. I've got presentation mastery, and then I've got this Pathways Mentor Program. But I'm going to go into engaging humor. And what I wanted to show you on that level 3, well, let's just look. Level 2, level 1, these were all assigned to you. You had no choice. You did all these 3 projects. Level 2, they assigned these projects. You had to do them. Introduction to mentoring is the same in all paths, but they switched these 2 here. In fact, because this is engaging humor, it says know your sense of humor is the compulsory one. I get to level 3, and that's where they start these electives. So the compulsory one was engage your audience with humor, but then I've got these 13, well, here it says 12 electives in this particular one. And I guess that's because it's the humorous one, it's a little bit different. But if I click on View Details, it will list all 13 of those electives. So if I thought I wanted to do effective body language, it actually tells you a little bit about it. This project focuses on how to recognize body language used when speaking publicly and how to use gestures to enhance speech content. If I wanted to work on body language, it would be one I could choose. If I wanted to prepare for an interview, hey, that might be interesting if I was looking for a job. I actually did an interview about 2 months ago. That would have been nice. This project addresses the skills you need to identify and speak about personal strengths and present yourself well in an interview. So they have a little recap on what each of these ones contain. And then level 4, they say there are 8 possible elective projects, and I only have to pick 1. And if I view the details there, I can look through that list. And apparently I chose question and answer session was the one that I took, because it says I've completed it actually. But I could have taken public relations strategy, managed projects successfully, etc. And then level 5, it looks like I haven't started level 5 at all here. So I'll have to deliver my message with humor, and it doesn't say when the date is. And then I have to choose 1 elective project, and there's a total of 6. So if I want to see my electives, and this is when I can start to understand, lesson learned is quite a project. Moderate a panel discussion. That sounds like a lot of work. Ethical leadership, high performance leadership. I know that's a big project. Leading your volunteer organization. That's huge. Prepare to speak professionally. So there's a lot of very interesting projects here. I might be able, this lessons learned, if I activate it, and I could read a little bit more about it if I wanted to. I don't have to choose it as my elective, but I might want to learn a little bit more. And what I usually go to here is your assignment. And this is just a shortcut. I didn't show it before, but just a shortcut to what would my assignment be. The purpose of this project is to learn about skills, overview, facilitate lessons learned. If you haven't already, give team members an opportunity to complete a 360 evaluation of you as a team leader. Finally, present a 5 to 7 minute speech. Sounds like a lot of work. I'm just going to open up that project form. This is the form that opened up. And it tells me what I have to do. So I can go look through all this stuff before I actually choose. So this one's not bad, but I have to facilitate a lessons learned meeting. I have to document the results. I have to do a 360 evaluation so I get people above and below me to evaluate me. I have to fill out some kind of a log. I have to do a metrics log and a 5 to 7 minute speech. So this level 5 is quite an intensive project. So anyway, I could go through these and I could read a little bit more about them, but I don't think I'm going to pick that lessons learned. So that is something. There are other ways to look at this. Oh, and the other thing I talked about was actually putting your evaluation online, and I thought I might as well just show it briefly here. So I'll click on Lloyd. Anytime I get lost, go back to the beginning, click on go to my transcript. Okay, I'm back here. So I'm back here where all these paths are. If I click on ePortfolio, and there's badges, there's documents. I'm going to click on documents. And this is, I was showing you before, I had all my files here. So if I had, someone had given me an evaluation, I would click on the folder. Let's say they gave me a level 1 evaluation. I would click on the folder. These are all the evaluations I've put here, but I can add a file, and I just have to go select it on my computer. It'll upload it, then I can just add it. And there it added that file. So that's how you file them if somebody emails it to you. Now, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to say that's the end of that part of the presentation. So if you guys have questions, queries.
I'm asking, what is particular to the elective project? What makes it different to the others?
Well, let's just look at it. For instance, let's take my presentation mastery, because that was one of the easier ones. And so if you looked at level 3, I had to talk about persuasive speaking. It was what was assigned to me. I had to talk about persuasive speaking. And then they said, well, we want you to do 2 of these other ones. And it's quite a list of things you can take. Like I could do delivering social speeches, using presentation software, connecting with storytelling, creating effective visual aids. But it gives me more variety. And it actually probably answers my own questions. What would I like to do out of all of these? And every individual is a little bit different. Now, I chose presentation software because you might say maybe I'm a little bit lazier. So if I make a PowerPoint, it's easier to present that than having to do maybe delivering social speeches. If you actually look at social speeches, I think it has 3 projects you have to do. You have to do a toast, a eulogy, an acceptance speech, and maybe giving an award. It says an acceptance speech. What's the other one? And a speech praising an individual. So that it's a bit of a different choice. But it gives you that variety that maybe you as an individual wants. And then because it's presentation mastery, they have the specific ones they want you to deal with. They want you to deal with, in level 4 here, managing a difficult audience, because you're going to bump into that someday. But at the same time, they let you choose an elective. Maybe how to create a podcast could be interesting. How to build a social media presence could be interesting. How to manage online meetings. So it gives you a different variety to fill out, I guess, the content for the rest of it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that means that you choose among those one. Which one seems to be more interesting for you?
Yeah, I took question and answer session. A little bit different for me because we're doing so many presentations out in the district, and I was going to do a question and answer session. Why not choose this one at least to fill in there? Now, you're required to do 1. If you wanted to go back and do 2 or 3, you're welcome to do it. You don't get any credit for anything, but it might be educational.
Yeah, okay, I see.
Like if you wanted to learn about how to make a compelling blog, you could challenge yourself to actually start making a blog if you weren't aware of how to do them. It gives you a challenge, and where it doesn't count towards anything, at least it gives you some knowledge going through it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, QC.
Lloyd, yeah, I just want to ask you about, okay, do I have to do in order in level? So for example, can I on level 2 and I jump on level 4 without level 3?
Well, you probably, just trying to think if that's what mine looks like right now, I'm working on. But engaging humor, if I open up engaging humor, well, I've worked through all the levels too. You don't have to. You can work on any order on these levels you want to. Up until last week, I was done level 3 and 4, but level 2 wasn't finished yet. So I had to finish level 2 so I could show level 3 as complete and then level 4 is complete, because I had done all the work in level 3 and 4, but I hadn't done the work in 2. And the reason I hadn't done the work in 2 was because of this project. Introduction to Toastmasters mentoring. I'm always challenged to figure out a speech for that, because they want you to talk about a situation where you were a mentee and how that impacted you. And when you're on your third path, you've talked about it twice. So it seems redundant just to do the same speech. So it took me a while to come up with a way to address that. But what I did realize is I'm working in engaging humor, so I made it a funny speech about how my brother was my mentor and tormented me, actually. So it works. Well, it's a humorous level, a humorous speech, so.
That sounds really funny.
Well, it was cute.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I finally thought of it, because some of these, and you guys will attest to this probably as well, they can be challenging. You know, what do you do?
Yeah.
It said introduction to Toastmasters mentoring, talk about a time when you were a mentee, and they call it a protege. Well, what if you never had a mentor?
Yeah.
How do you
I felt that I had to do storytelling, and I found that a real challenge.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why they set it up like this, to make you step outside your comfort zone. Yeah. Any other questions about anything in pathways? Because that's the other part of it. We can talk about anything.
So can you show us how, like, you've completed almost all the levels in this example. Once you get to path completion, what happens? Do you get a badge? Do you have to inform someone?
Well, this one here, like level 5, I can show you on level 5.
Sure.
When these two are completed, I have to launch this one. I have to apologize, I can't see it. You have to, it'll have a button in here to launch it, to activate the completion. And when I activate that, it sends an email to the Basecamp manager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it sends an email to them, and they come in here through another area and they approve my completion.
Okay.
And that'll be the next thing. These ones, it looks like this. It would have said launch, I guess.
Okay. And do you get anything once they've approved it?
Well, that certificate right there.
Then you get that. Okay, I see.
Yeah, it says certificate. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you get a certificate like that. You can email it to the club. You can print it up. You can. I usually print them up and take them to the club and have them present them. Or if I'm I'm the president, so I make sure I print them up and present them to the member at the club. Yeah, so then you've got 5 level completions like that. And then you notice to complete the path, they actually have some kind of a project in here called path completion. So you can get to level 5, you can complete level 5, but on level 5, they're going to ask you to go through this, reflect on your path. So it sounds like one project you have to do, and then you're going to be able to complete the path. So that, I said there was 13 projects, this would make it 14.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, you see, talking about certificates. So in Toastmasters here, having all those different certificates, are there for different levels? And then what happens next? Is there a top level of certificate that you can get of a huge accomplishment, something like that?
You get a certificate for level 1. You see it here, level
Yeah.
1 certificate. You get a certificate for level 2. You get a certificate for level 3, and you get a certificate for level 4. And once you get to level 5, anyway, there's a level 5 certificate.
Yeah.
And then
And
you get one big certificate?
No,
yes, that's the question.
no, you don't. You just get, it looks, but you get a level 5 certificate, and then they put some letters at the end of your name, like Lloyd Gwillem Visionary Communication 5, VC5.
Yeah.
And if I was doing engaging humor, it'd be EH5. But really, the ultimate thing is to do 2 paths, 2 separate paths.
Yeah.
Do a distinguished Toastmaster project and get your DTM. Because I'm a DTM, I'll never have any of those letters in my name, VL1, VL2, VL3, because DTM is the highest.
What does it stand for? DTM?
Distinguished Toastmaster.
Okay.
Yeah, that used to take about 60 speeches to get there in a couple of years' work. And they would make you distinguished Toastmaster. Now it's 2 paths and then a special distinguished Toastmaster project. I haven't done that yet. I've got 2 speeches to finish my second path and then start that distinguished Toastmaster. I should just say we were done the presentation. So when you guys need to leave, just go ahead and leave. And
Okay.